Welcome to the Tzorba Mirabanan Hilchot Shabbat program with Rabbi Shalom Rosner. Tzorba is a revolutionary halacha sefer which guides you through over 300 topics in Jewish law in a unique signature style. In this weekly series specifically, Rabbi Shalom Rosner learns through the Tzorba Hilchot Shabbat volumes, helping us all master the halachot of Shabbat in just 2 years. Tzorba volumes are available for purchase worldwide on Amazon. And to learn more about Tzorba, or for those in Eretz Yisrael looking to purchase volumes, please head over to tzorbaolami.com. For more information, see the description below. And now, Rabbi Shalom Rosner.
Shir 2 is dedicated to the safe return of Daniel Shimon ben Sharon, together with all others who are missing and held captive in Israel.
Okay, this is our second in the Tzorba Merabanan series on the essays of Shabbos. Again, our text we use is the Tzorba Merabanan Sfarim, the Lax family edition of the Tzorba Merabanans. This is volume 16, the Weiss family volume, which is all about the essays of Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, Halakas Neiris, Tosefes Shabbos, Accepting Shabbos, Tfilas of Shabbos, Shnai Mikra, and the beginning of Kiddush, as we will get to. But we did last time all various halachas having to do with Erev Shabbos and preparing, and today we get into something else that happens on Erev Shabbos, but it has to do with Shabbos directly, and that, of course, is Halakas Neiros. Halakas Neiros will be split into 2 shiurim. The first year that we will be discussing is the reasons behind why we light Shabbos candles. Where did that mitzvah d'Rabbanan come from? How many candles should one light? What should one use? What's the best type of light to use? The best place to put the candles, and lighting in hotels or other unusual places like that. So let's get into lighting the candles. So first of all, the Shulchan Aruch says, and again, this is in volume 16, as I said. This second year starts on page 73. But again, we'll mention the Mar Makomas outside and add in a few as well. The Shulchan Aruch says in Reish Samach Gimel, Siv Beis, that men and women are obligated. We'll learn in next year why women generally are the ones to light the candles. But the Shulchan Aruch says, Afilu ein lo ma yochal. Even if someone doesn't have what to eat, shoel al hapsachim v'lokeach shemen u'madlik hasaner. Even though most mitzvos, if I'm ones, if I don't have enough money, I'm pater. Okay, I don't do it. I don't have enough money for an esrog. I don't have to go sell the shirt off my back for an esrog. Right? There's a certain maximum that you have to spend for mitzvahs. To prevent violating a lo saseh, then there's no shit to give away all your money. But to fulfill a mitzvah saseh, there are limitations. But there are a couple of exceptions to the rule, and this is one of them. Afilu ein lo ma yochal, shoal al apsachim v'lo keach shemen u'madlik hasaner. Even if he doesn't have what to eat, he should ask, beg at the doors, and buy oil and light. Zeh bechlal onik Shabbos. We'll get back to that lashon. But it is a mitzvah that you even have to sell the shirt off your back for. Why is that? Why would it be that? Why can you have an ones? Well, we say like ones rachmana patre. Ones, the Torah says, it's the Torah exempts you. So there is an Avnei Nezer. It's an important Avnei Nezer in the Chuvas. The Sachat Shabbat, the Avnei Nezer writes in Arach Chaim and Sivan Tav Kuf Aleph that he says it not here in this context, but the same svara would apply. Mitzvahs of Persume Nisa. The mitzvah of Persume Nisa says the Avnei Nezer, like Neris Chanukah, you have to sell the shirt off your back in order to get it. Why? Because you can say Hashem will give you the credit, is as if you did it. You want to do it, right? The Gemara says, Chash v'lasos mitzvah v'lo asa, mal avakasav kilu asa. Hashem will give you the credit as if you did it. That could only apply by mitzvahs that we might call a Maisa focused, a Maisa oriented mitzvah. So that's where you can say Hashem will give you the credit. But if the mitzvah is about achieving a result, it's about bringing a certain reality, that if that reality wasn't brought, then Hashem's not going to fault you, you're an ones, but you can't say as if you did it. She says, "Shakal mitzvahs ein mechuyev limkar ksuso." By most mitzvahs, you don't have to sell the shirt off your back. Sheichishav lasos mitzvah lo asa, mal avakasav kilo asa. Mashein kein persume nisa lefarsem laachirim umal laachirim b'machshavaso. What do others have to do with my thought? So my thought, I wish I could do it, but lamaisa, it's persume nisa to others, and they didn't see it. Al kain, and that's why Neiros Chanukah and the mitzvahs of pursuing Nisa are different, but one might say the same thing by Neiros Shabbos. Neiros Shabbos is also about the result. As we'll see, it's not about the Maisa Hadlaka as much as it is about the result, and therefore maybe that's also part of why one has to sell the shirt off his back. Okay, so what's the reasons behind lighting Shabbos candles? So there seems to be 2, or we'll get to 3 ideas. Three ideas in the Mefarshim based on Chazal about lighting Shabbos candles. The Gemara tells us in Shabbos Chafei, source number 1, Amar of Nachman bar Rav Zavda, V'amri Amar of Nachman bar Rava, Amar Rav, Halakas Ner B'Shabbos, Chova. It's a chova, it's an obligation. It's not an option. Maybe in contrast to the halakas neiros of Yom Kippur is an option, but halakas neiros Shabbos is a chova. Is an obligation? Rashi says there, kavod Shabbosu, she'ein su'uda chashuva el b'makam or ke'en yamama. Because the meal is given chashivus when we light a candle. In fancy restaurants, often there are candles. When there's light, it's a suda chashuva. You don't want to eat in the dark. So Rashi says that's the chova. And that's the lashon that Rashi uses is kavod Shabbos. Let's keep that in mind. Kavod Shabbosu. If you look in Tosfos right there, Shabbos Chafhei, Tosfos says, first of all, before he gets to the contrast in the lashon with Rashi, he says the word chova here should not be confused that this is similar to chova in another context, chulin kufhei, mayim achronim chova. This is not like that type of chova. Why? Because the chova over there by Mayim Achronim, that's just about prevention of a problem. The melach sodomis, the salt that used to blind the eyes, or to clean my hands, both of those are removal of a problem. Removal of a problem never gets a bracha. Right? If Netilas Yadayim was only about removal, let's say, of the ruach ra, we wouldn't make a bracha in the morning. Right, just like you don't make a bracha when you leave a cemetery and you wash your hands. If it's just removal of ruach ra, the only reason you make a bracha is when there's something positive. We don't make a bracha on kashering, hagalas kalim, because you're just removing something not kosher. You make a bracha on hosafas kedusha, tevilas kalim, where we're being mosif kedusha. Then we would make a bracha. So Tosfos here says, don't think that the word chova here by halakas neiros Shabbos is similar to the word chova elsewhere by Mayim Achronim. No, this is different. Rabbeinu Tam says, Deshibushu, Delo Damil Mayim Achronim. This is not like Mayim Achronim. Why? Delo Havi Elol Hatzala Ba'alma. Mayim Achronim is to prevent you and save you from a problem. Aval Halakas Ner, Hi Chova Shel Mitzvahs Oneg Shabbos. Halakas Nera is an obligation of Oneg Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos, right? So Rashi used the lashon of Kavod Shabbos, and Rabbeinu Tam used the lashon of Oneg. Again, both words are found in Yeshayahu, Perek Nun Ches, but what it sounds like it's different. It sounds like Rashi lists lights the candles as to honor the Shabbos, Kavod Shabbos. Rabbeinu Tam says Oneg, which means like to enjoy the candles. Maybe I would have thought that according to Rabbeinu Tam, says Tosfos in the continuation, that it's all about enjoying. So let's say I have candles lit from Friday. I don't have to light new ones for Shabbos. I'm going to enjoy the candles anyway because they're already lit. No, Tosfos continues. Even according to Rabbeinu Tam, that is oneg, it has to be lit l'shem Shabbos. Shem haya haner mutlak va'omed. Source number 4. Sorach lechabos v'lachzor l'hadlik. You have to relight it again. Which makes it sound like according to Rashi holds it's Kavod Shabbos. Rabbeinu Tam maybe holds it's both. It's Kavod Shabbos, so it has to be lit l'shem Shabbos, and it's oneg Shabbos to enjoy on Shabbos. We'll get to a Gemara later on, Be'ez Hashem, but it could be, this might even be a machlokas amoraim, whether it's kavod or whether it's oneg, because the Gemara talks about later on in Daf Chav Hey in Shabbos about itron. There are some Tanan that says you're not allowed to use itron. Rabbi Shmuel says in the Mishnah you can't use itron, a foul-smelling type of fuel. And Rava says, why? Because it smells terrible. And therefore what? Gzeir Hashem yanichana v'yetzei. Shabbos Chav Hey, you might leave. If it smells so bad, you might want to leave the Shabbos table. Amar le Abaya says to Rava v'yetzei, so let him leave. What's the difference? So he'll leave. So what? So he'll leave. Amar le. So Rava says back, no. Shadi Omar, Halakas Neiros Shabbos Chova. No, Halakas Neiros is a Chova. So you can't leave. What's the Nekudas Machlokas between Abai and Rava? Suggest to Beis Halevi that the Machlokas is about Kavod or Oneg. Right? If it's about Kavod, then once you lit it. Then you leave. Okay. It doesn't ruin the mitzvah. But if it's about Oneg, you obviously have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it on Shabbos because it's about enjoying. The Rambam, interestingly, explicitly has both. We said maybe that's Rabbeinu Tam, but the Rambam in Perek Hey of Hilchos Shabbos and Perek Lamed of Hilchos Shabbos, he has both Lashonos. The Rambam says in Perek Hey, Halakas Ner b'Shabbos eina rishus. Im ratza madlik v'matzeinu madlik. It's not a rishus below mitzvah. Shino chayav l'rdof acharei sheyasena. Ela chovahi. V'echad anashim chayavin. Lios b'matei ner dolik b'Shabbos. There's an obligation for every man, every woman to have a candle lit in their house on Shabbos. Afilu ein lo mayochal. Right, the language of the Shulchan Aruch. That's where the Shulchan Aruch got it from. Shoal al apsachim v'lokech shemen u'madlik asaner. Shezeh bechlal oneg Shabbos. Says the Rambam in Hilchos Shabbos and Perek Hey, oneg Shabbos to have candles lit. But if you look in Perek Lamed, all the way at the end of Hilchos Shabbos, the Rambam says, "V'tzarach l'sakin beisu mibod yom mipnei k'vod haShabbos. V'yer ner dalek v'shulchan aruch hamita mutzaz shekol elu l'kavod Shabbos heim." Because it's l'kavod Shabbos. So in the same set of halachas, 25 prakim apart, the Rambam says halachas neris is oneg Shabbos, halachas neris is kavod Shabbos. There seems to be two elements according to the Rambam, explicitly. Maybe according to the Rabbeinu Tam, we saw implicitly that halachas neris is both kavod and oneg. What exactly is the definition of kavod and oneg? What's the difference between the two? We usually sometimes say, l'kavod Shabbos. Right? What's the difference? Before we eat, sometimes we say l'kavod Shabbos. So what's the difference between kavod and oneg? So I think I might have mentioned it in the last year, but this is the chiddush of the Gra. The Gra in Hilchos Yantif. You have it there in source number 7 on page 75. In Tavkov Chavtes, the Gra says, based on the Rambam. If you look at the Rambam has many examples of kavod Shabbos in Perek Lamed, and if you look at them, there's a common denominator between all of them. Right? We spoke last week about not eating on Erev Shabbos. That's an example of kavod Shabbos, going into Shabbos with an appetite. But the Rambam gives other examples. Shemitzvah l'adam l'erchos panav ezel kavod halacha beis. Zeu shamar chachamim. Mitzvah l'adam l'erchos panav yadav raglav b'chamin be'erev Shabbos. A mitzvah to take a shower. B'bnei kavod Shabbos. Umisatif batzitzis, put on special clothing of tzitzis, v'yoshi b'koved rosh, miyachel l'hakpalas pnei Shabbos. To sit with bated breath and anticipation to greet the Shabbos Malka. Kemoshe uyotzi l'kras hamelech. Like he would go out to greet a king. V'cham harishonim hayu makapsin talmidim be'erev Shabbos. The great rabbis used to gather their students on Erev Shabbos. Umisatfim v'omrim bo v'neitzi l'kras Shabbos hamalka. They used to go out. Umikavod Shabbos, the Rambam continues to wear special clothing. Shilbash ktus nekiya. And also look for a Su'uda, also, as we learned last time, Mipnei Kfar Shabbos. One is not allowed to have a big meal. What do all these have in common? Says the Gra, Kavod Shabbos is everything you do before Shabbos. Before Shabbos. Everything you do on Shabbos is Oneg Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos. Right, that's enjoying the Shabbos. You honor Shabbos by doing all the preparations. When we take a shower, we should have in mind, I'm doing it l'kavod Shabbos. I'm not just taking a shower because I'm hot and sweaty. Right, when we set the table, everything is about kavod Shabbos. We set the table, I think there's a Shlach Kaddish that says when you set a table for Shabbos, for Yantif, there's a pasuk in Yechezkel, Vayidaber Elai, Zeh Shulchan Asher Lefnei Hashem. That's a whole pasuk. So it's nice to say that pasuk as you set the table. Vayidaber Elai, Zeh Shulchan Asher Lefnei Hashem. But that's before Shabbos. That's kavod Shabbos. Oneg Shabbos is enjoying, as the Rambam says, Shesorach l'sakin tavshel shamein biyoser umashke mevusam, and to enjoy it, eating good food and being comfortable and doing things that you enjoy. And that's what the Gra says in Tavkov Chavtes. You have it there based on the Rambam. V'rotzona lomar oneg hu b'Shabbos atzmo v'kavod hu be'erev Shabbos. Right, so that is the Vilna Gaon. There is a beautiful thought that Rav Soloveitchik has in his Yartzeit Shiurim, where he focuses on this Rambam, and he says, interesting, if you look at these 4 ways, I think he says 3, I'll just add in the 4th, these ways that we're supposed to get ready for Shabbos, to wash ourselves, and to special clothing, and sit with bated breath and anticipation, Yoshi b'koved rosh, miyachal akvalos b'nei hashchina, and gathering in groups, mekabsin talmidehem. Says the Rav, there's another religious experience that we get ready for in the same way. And if the halacha demands that we get ready for in the same way, or very similar ways, it must be that's a similar experience. And what's similar? Tefillah. The way we get ready for tefillah, the Rav says, what do we do for tefillah? The Rambam is very charif about washing one's hands. Washing one's hands, well, we wash before we daven. Misatif batzitzis. We go put on special clothing. Where the minhag all is only to wear a talis gadol during davening. The Yoshi b'koved rosh, to sit with bated breath. Remember the Chasidim Arishonim Ayishom Sha'achaz was Paulim, to sit with koved rosh, getting ready for the experience. And Chacham Arishonim gathering in groups. Maybe that's Tefillah B'tzibur. So it's interesting, says Rav Soloveitchik, the same way that we get ready for Tefillah, we get ready for Shabbos. So what is the connection between the two? What's the parallel between the two? So Rav Soloveitchik said maybe it's related to the chiddush of my grandfather. The chiddush of my grandfather. What does my grandfather say? If you remember, if there's any Reb Chaim that people are familiar with, it might be this Reb Chaim. The Reb Chaim in Hilchas Tefillah, in the Grachal Rambam, where Reb Chaim deals with a steer in the Rambam. The Rambam says that there's different types, seems to be, let's say the Rambam first. First, the Rambam says that if you don't have kavanah in davening, any part of the Amida, what is not Yotzei. Number one. But number two, the Rambam also says that, as the halacha that we know, that as long as you have kavanah in the first bracha, you're okay. Right? So what is it? So Reb Chaim explains there are two types of kavanah. One type of kavanah is just additional to your davening. You're davening, and you should have kavanah in your davening. And if you didn't have kavanah, as long as you had kavanah in the first bracha, you're okay. That's pirush hamilim. Knowing what the words mean. I should try to know what the words mean all of davening, but if I don't know every word, so then it's okay, as long as I had kavanah during avos. Ha'achas kavanah shal pirush advarim, Yesoda who didn't kavanah. But then there's another type of kavanah, says the Rav, says B'Shem Reb Chaim, his grandfather. It's not an additional point. I daven, and I should have kavanah or not a kavanah. It's part of the definition of davening. And if I didn't have this kavanah, then it's misasek. It's like I'm just doing something, I don't even realize what I'm doing. And that kavanah is knowing that you're standing in front of Hashem. Omeid lifnei hamelech. And that's not really a didn't kavanah, says the Reb Chaim. The kavanah zu eina midin kavanah, rakshu me'etzim ma'isa hatfilah. V'im ein libo panui, ve'eina roes atzmo she'omeid lifnei Hashem u'mispalel. If I don't recognize the experience that I'm involved in, ein ze ma'isa tfilah. Farihu b'chla mazasek. Ve'ein lo did ma'isa. And therefore it's ma'akev in every single part of davening. But if you say that, said Reb Soloveitchik, that's Reb Chaim. Says now the grandson, Reb Soloveitchik, maybe that's Shabbos also. And that's why the Rambam, we prepare for Shabbos the same way we prepare for Tefillah. Because Shabbos is a 25-hour period of an Amidah L'fnei Hashem, of closeness with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We said last week, Teischem L'Shalom, we say to the Malachim, because even the Malachim can't be at the Shabbos table. It's just Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that's the Kavod and the Oneg. The Kavod are the same ideas that we get ready for Tefillah with, same types of actions, and building on the Gra. That Kavod is before Shabbos and Oneg is on Shabbos. That's Reb Soloveitchik paralleling it to Tefillah. Okay, that's in a yard site share. Now we move on. So that's all so far. Two ideas relating to Halakas Erev Shabbos. Is it Kavod? Is it Oneg? And again, according to the Rambam, it's both. When you light the candles on Erev Shabbos, it's Kavod. You're honoring Shabbos. But then when you enjoy the candles on Shabbos, so then that's Oneg, that you're enjoying it. Good. Said there's a third idea. There's a third idea, again, well known. Shabbos Chav Gimel. The third idea is Shalom Bayis. Halakas Erev adds to the family harmony on Shabbos, and that's why Rava says in Shabbos Chav Gimel, Pshitali, Ner Beisov and Ner Chanukah, Ner Beiso Adif, source number 8. Right? If I only have enough money to buy a candle for Shabbos and a candle for Chanukah, what wins? And you can't just use one for both, because in Ner Chanukah, you're not allowed to get pleasure from. And Ner Shabbos, you have to get pleasure from, so you can have one or the other. So the Gemara says, Ner Beiso Adif, Mishum Shalom Beiso. Shalom Bayis, and that's why you need the candle. What does Shalom Bayis actually mean? So if you look in Rashi says, nobody wants to sit in the dark. Nobody wants to sit in the dark. That's why it's Shalom Bayis to light a candle. According to that, it probably would only be where you eat, because nobody likes to sit in the dark and eat. But if you look in Shabbos Chaf Hei Amid Beis, the Gemara there also talks about Halakas Eretz, and Rashi there says something more expanded. Shaholech v'nichshal v'holech ba'afela. I might trip on something when it's dark, which then the nafkamina would be, you always have to have it on, and in all the different rooms, you need to have it on. It's not just a question about eating in the dark, but you don't want to trip. You don't want to trip. So that's the third idea when it comes to Halakas Neres. We have Kavod, and Oneg, and Shalom Bayis. The Aruch HaShulchan, in Reis Samach Gimel Beis, you have it on page 77, has a different chiluk between Kavod and Oneg. Different than the Gra. He knew the Gra, but different than the Gra. Now, he feels that the difference is where you're eating and all the other areas. To light a candle where you eat, that's Kavod Shabbos. Shar Chadarim is Oneg Shabbos, because you enjoy when you're not going to trip and it's light in the other rooms. So that's why the Mishnah Berurah quotes that one should have some type of light or source of light in any room that you're going to use on Shabbos, so you don't trip. Halakas Ner, Mishnah Berurah says in 13, Tzarech lios b'chol hachadarim sholech sham v'Shabbos. Al kopadim ner echad. Have one candle. Afshin ochel sham kadesh leikashel be'etzu be'evan, so you don't trip. Miu bracha tevarech laner makam achila. The bracha is only on the makam achila, but not on the other candles. So this is about background. Why is there a mitzvah? Why did Chazal institute a mitzvah of Halakas Ner Shabbos? Mitzvah d'Rabbanan. Right, it's one of the mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. It's not one of the 613, except according to the Bahag. The Bahag counts some mitzvahs d'Rabbanan in his list. It is Kavod, Oneg, or Shalom Bayis. That's background. Okay. How many candles? What's the mitzvah? What's the takana? Says the Shulchan Aruch. We quoted this before. Ner daluk b'Shabbos. A candle. Ner daluk. And even if he doesn't have mayocha, shol al psachim, as we read earlier. So ner daluk sounds like singular. Ner daluk, and that's what the halacha is. The halacha is me'ikar adin, one candle. Me'ikar adin, one candle. That's all one needs. And that's what the Mishnah Berurah explains, that if you don't have so much money, and you're being supported by tzedakah funds or other funds, one candle. Right? You don't go splurge for a whole candelabra and many different branches. Says the Mishnah Berurah, if you have to have basic necessities. Bread. Bread comes before ner, because you don't have bread, I guess you don't have shalom bayis either. But right after bread comes ner l'Shabbos. Kodem likach b'shar ma'achal. It comes before in the hierarchy, before other foods. But dai ner echad l'chud. Bashar yosi abachali Shabbos. Just one. This also might be reflected in the bracha. Right? Lahalik ner shel Shabbos. You don't say nero shel Shabbos. Ner, no matter how many kills you light ner. We say ner because that is the bracha that is the remez to how many is the maker at the end. Like Hanukkah, like ner shel Hanukkah. Doesn't matter how many candles one is lighting. The minhag, though, as we know, is to light two. The minhag is to light at least two. The kolbo, one of the Rishonim, and the kolbo says because everything of Shabbos is two, is double, right? Shnei kfasim, lechem mishnah, zachar v'shamar, right? Everything is two, and that's why we have two candles. It's not quoted here, but there's a Gemara in Shabbos Lamed Gimel. Remember when the Rav Shimon Yochai and his son came out of the cave for the second time, and they're looking around, and they see an old man running by with two hadassim in his hands. And they asked him, well, what are those hadassim for? He says, L'Kavod Shabbos. He's like, what? It's L'Kavod Shabbos? Wow, well, but why do you need two then? So he says, Echa Keneged Zachar, V'Echa Keneged Shamar. So that's also a Gemara that's brought as a source for lighting two candles at least. Again, the Kolbo does not quote that. He just says everything in Shabbos is two. But that's another. Two hadassim in that Gemara, two myrtles to smell. So that is also a remez to the two. There is another number, just parenthetically, 7. Interestingly, the Bali Gematria love this one. There's a lot of 7s in Shabbos. Shabbos is the 7th day. If you look at Chala is Gematria 43. 4 plus 3 is 7. Dag is Gematria 7. Marak, soup, is Gematria 340. 3 plus 4 is 7. Yayin is Gematria 70. 7 plus 0 is 7. Many of the foods that we Lamaisa eat on Shabbos is Gematria 7. So 7 is also an important number for Shabbos, not just 2. Okay, so we have 2. That's what the Kolbo says, and that's what the Shulchan Aruch quotes as well. V'yezar lasos ner yafa v'yishchav lasos shtei psilos echa keneged zachar v'echa keneged shamar. The Mishnah Berurah explains that there was a minhag to light 7 keneged the days of the week, keneged 10 aseres adibros, but we generally like 2. But we generally add, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu writes, but again, this is the Minhag Olam, it's source of a 20, that the minhag is to add on based on the number of children in the family. V'yesh Noah goes lahadlik k'mispar anshe habayis. Right, anshe habayis. That's what we like keneged, and it's a very special mitzvah, as we'll learn next time about the women dafka doing it. But it's already mentioned earlier. It's mentioned before. Mordechai Eliyahu, look at the Kuti Maharich, also quotes that we light based on the number of people in the family. And that's also, though, only if a woman is home. The Shmir Shabbos already writes, right? If somebody goes away for Shabbos and you're at somebody's house for Shabbos, you don't have to ask to light a bunch of candles, right? Connected the family members, right? You light 2. You light 2 at home. You can light all your candles. But when you're away, the Shmir Shabbos quotes, Rav Norworth quotes in source 22. It's on page 81. When she's lighting in her home, she lights these extra candles. But when she's not home, right? When she's not at home, she lights 2. V'lav dafka gedolim. You don't have to write in the big candelabra, right? Just however many one lights. That's only to be at home and not to be used not to be done in other places as well. Okay, there is a halacha that is known by the women, and it's scary for women, and it's based on a Maharil. It's nowhere in Shas. Nowhere in Shas. The Maharil writes, again, that's one of the main svarim for the sources of Minhagi Ashkenaz, that if a woman ever forgot to light a candle, forgot to light Shabbos candles, then she has to do something as a tikkun, as a knas. The Maharil writes, source 23, Nishal al isha de mishtala, sheshachacha v'shashagaga, v'ledlika ner b'Shabbos. She forgot. V'horela, v'shala midoda v'heshivla, tezihira kol yameh la hosif, al kol ner shal mitzvah yoser mimashayis regila. B'shiurim. You have to add in, they used to light, let's say, oil candles, add in a little of extra oil forever. Forever, you forgot once, forevermore, you have to add in a little bit of extra oil. And the Ramah quotes this minhag in a little different, this knas in a little different way. The Ramah in Orach Chaim and Reis Gimel, it's source 24, Ha'isha sheshachacha pamachas lahadlik malekas kol yameha shlosha neros. You're always allowed to add on. So if you're supposed to light 2, you always add on an extra one. And this is something that women don't want to hear. They don't want to. It's embarrassing for the rest of their life to have to add on. So there are many kulas. There are many kulas, and in almost every situation, there are at least some poskim to rely on that she does not have to light an extra one. Again, Rachmana litzlan, if a child predeceases a parent, so then you never goreya. You're always mosif. That's the Ramah. That lashon Ramah. Yicholon hosef al davar mechuva negados davar acher. Right? You're allowed to add on to the number. But what are some of the limitations of this knas? So number one, what if she's Nansa? What if it's not in her control? She was about to light Shabbos candles, then some crazy thing happened, and her child got injured, and she had to go put on a band-aid, and then all of a sudden shkia. So what are you doing? So Nansa for sure there's no knas by ones. Nothing to talk about. Right? That's what the Mr. Bura says in Reis Gimel, Sef Zayin Alkenim Nansa V'Lodlika Kagon Shahaisa B'Veis Asurim. She's in jail. She doesn't have to add on for this in this case. But then there's a whole other issue. What about Bizman Hazeh? Right? We said Kavod Onik Shalom Bayis, the 3 reasons for behind Tahalakas Neiros. So let's say Shalom Bayis. Nowadays, so the knas was because she did something, she forgot it. Now there's no Shalom Bayis in the house. But one second, nowadays we have electricity. Nowadays we have lights on. The candles aren't really mosif anyway. So, is there really a knas? Is there a knas nowadays when we have plenty of light in the house? Where the reason of the knas doesn't apply. The whole reason, because look what she did. She messed up, and now it's going to be dark in the house. No shalom bayis. There is shalom bayis. So, this is a machlokas haposkim. Whether the fact that there are electric candles, electric lights, so does that tell us that there is no knas? So if you look in the Malami Lahoel, Rav David Tzvi Hoffman, one of the Gedolim from 150 years ago, Rav David Tzvi Hoffman says, he quotes some machlokas about it, but then he says, I don't think it helps. I don't think it makes a difference. I think she didn't light, it's her fault. She has to light an extra candle. See, at the end of 26, he goes to the different studim of the case that he's talking about there is with a husband lit. The husband's always getting close to Shkia, and he saw that the wife didn't light yet, so he quickly lit for her. So that's similar to our case, where she didn't get to it, but there wasn't darkness. So he thinks there, he says, I don't think you could say she doesn't do anything. Upater b'lo klum yefshar misha al kalpanim, misha ha'isha, pasha be'isha, sheshach al ha'adlik, v'lo bircha al haneros. That's Rav David Tzvi Hoffman, Amami Lahoel. Also the Shevet HaLevi, Rav Vosner, in source 27, in Heilam Gimel, Asher shal linyan isha, sheshachach al ha'adlik neiroseha, b'lo Shabbos. She forgot, holich ner electri. Is that, included or not? So he says, first of all, right? This is not not only is this not in Chazal, Gemara, this is not even in Rishonim. It starts with the Maharil. So it's hard to be machmir in these cases, and that's what we try, almost every case we try to find a kula. Even though he says, I not so clearly make it. Aval kach nira the nikra shachach al inyan. It is shachach even if there are lights on. Talk upon him. Avral mitzvahs lakazaner v'reishi mitzvahs ha'isha b'miyuchad. But Rav Ovadia and Chazon Ovadia says no. The minhag is we don't. If there was light in the room, there is no knas. And Rav David Ribiat in his Sefer 39 Malachas also said that even some Ashkenazic poskim are mekel. Bizbanenu says Rav Ovadia. Let's read his words. Shemalikim chashmal ha'ir es kol habayis. You light electricity. Im shachal ha'likan neris shemen oshava. if she forgot to add in her own candles, she doesn't have to be Mosif. Right? There's no lack of shalom bias, and therefore there is no problem, and Ribbiat says that too. So again, Lomaisa, a woman forgot. So what a case is? We have this Maharil, and the Rama quotes the Maharil. She has to add on a candle the rest of her life. So number one, maybe there's no kanas when it comes to electric lights, and it was light in the room anyway. Number two, Ones. What exactly? How did she forget? Maybe she was busy with the kids and was totally not in her control. And there's a third idea. Most women don't forget on Shabbos. They don't forget on Shabbos. They're going to light candles. When does this come up? And I've gotten this Shiloh a number of times. Sometimes on Yontif, sometimes on the second night of Yontif, you come back home in Chutz La'aretz or in Eretz Yisrael and Rosh Hashanah, but you come back home and you have to put the stuff on the hot plate and on the blech, and you got to get everything ready because you couldn't prepare beforehand. Or Simchas Torah in Chutz Torah night in Chutz La'aretz. So it's so late, and you're dancing, and you come back, you're just serving the soup. You don't always remember. You don't always remember because it's happening on Yontif, not beforehand. So another tzabah hakel is the knas might not have been on Yontif. Who says? Maybe it's just on Shabbos. Right, so again, that's something that is not so clear. So whatever kula you can find in this area, we do, because as was said before, as Rav Vosner said, this is nowhere in Shas. It's a later knas, and therefore we're generally mekel in almost every case. Good. So we spoke about why do we light, and we spoke about how many. So now, what should we light? What should one use? What's the best types of materials and fuels and wicks? And this is, as we know from the second parak in Shabbos, the Mishnah is in Bameh Malikin. That's Bameh Malikin, Bameh Malikin. Right? With what do we light? What do we not light? So the whole Mishnah has a whole list of items that you're not supposed to use. Ein Malikin lo b'lechesh, lo b'chosim, lo b'chalach, lo b'sil. So you're not allowed to use any of these for wicks. Why? What's the problem? Why, says Rava in the Gemara? Because the fire isn't so clear. Amar Rabba, source 31. Psilos shamru chachamim ein malikin ben b'Shabbos. The psilos that the chachamim say you can't use, mipnei sheha'or misachseches behen. Because of the fire. Because of the fire that doesn't burn well. It doesn't burn smoothly. It jumps. And therefore we're worried that if you see it like that on Shabbos, you might come to fix it. So it's a gzeira. You can't light with this because you might come to fix it on Shabbos, because this is the way of that type of flame. And the oils too. The oils that are listed there that you can't use. Zephes, Shava, Kik, Shemen Sreifa, Alya, Chelev, all of those are because it doesn't, light well doesn't provide the appropriate amount of fuel, and therefore it is not allowed. And this is where what we saw before. We also know Rabbi Shmuel says you can't use Itron because it is foul smelling, but the Chachamim say you could use any. Chachamim say you could use any. Rabbi Tarfon says Shemen Zayis. Rabbi Tarfon says Shemen Zayis, only Shemen Zayis. We don't pass him like Rabbi Tarfon. Right, we don't paskin that it has to be Shemen Zayis, but Tosfos quotes there, Shabbos Chav Gimel, that is a lacharchila. Not the same reason as Shemen Zayis being lacharchila by Neiros Chanukah, because then the nace happened with Shemen Zayis. Mm-hmm. But this is different, because Shemen Zayis gives the clearest light. The clearest light. It says Tosfos 34, L'ner Shabbos Pshita, the Shemen Zayis mitzvah min hamuvchar, L'fi, Shenimshach achar psila tfei mikolu. It follows the wick better than any of the others. It's the best, it's the clearest light, it's the best light, and that's why the Tosfos says that, and that's quoted in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says you can use any fuel. Shar kol hashmanim chutz me'elu, any fuel besides the ones listed that do not light well, you can use any, madlikim behem. Umikol makom, shemen zayis mitzvah min hamuvchar. Shemen zayis is mitzvah min hamuvchar, olive oil. But again, it's not based on the Halacha Moshe Sinai. It's based on the clearest light, the most beautiful light. So nowadays, many women light with paraffin, the type of a clear or colorful light, and the flame is gorgeous. So one could use that. But again, obviously, in the days of not so long ago, everybody used to use wax candles. Mm-hmm. Wax candles, that's okay. Again, that's if it gives off a good light, a clear light. But this is the discussion of what to use. So Shemen Zayis is the best. But any of the other ones, except the ones on the list, are not good. What about electric lights? Shiloh that comes up in hotels and in hospitals. Could you use an electric light to fulfill the mitzvah? So the Rugged Shaver, Rabbi Yosef Rosen, says one does not fulfill the mitzvah with electric lights. You have to use something with eish. An electric light is not eish. Most poskim assume that one does fulfill the mitzvah. You do fulfill the mitzvah in a certain way. In which ways? So, interesting cases. So, B'tzion Abishol, here in the Chuvas Or L'Tzion says, you only yotze the mitzvah. What's the takana? What does a candle usually look like? You have a wick, and the wax is there, and that's the source for that's the fuel for the candle, for the wick. Or you have a wick sitting in oil. So the oil is the material and the fuel for the wick. But here by electricity, says the Or L'Tzion, every second new electricity, a new current is coming in. And therefore, that's not comparable to our case. Mishum shebechashmal kol rega magia zerem chadash. Sheklal lo shaykh la'halaka rishona. Nothing to do with the first halakha. V'lo nechshav shu hidlik es ha'or b'lachar mikan. I have no connection to the light that happened later on. That's from the electrical current. So the Chuvas Or L'Tzion is not a fan of electric because of that. And there are others that also say that. Rav Shlomo Zalman. Rav Moshe is quoted in the Radiance of Shabbos that one can use them if that's the only choice, but he is not convinced that one should make a bracha on them. Let's say you're in a hospital in Chutz La'aretz, in Eretz Yisrael, they generally allow you to light Hanukkah, Shabbos candles in specified areas. But what if one can't? So then, one can be yotze the mitzvah. Rav Moshe says not to make a bracha, but other poskim, Rav Ovadia or Tzvi Pesach, write that no, even on electric candles, one could even make a bracha. And he quotes this from Tzvi Pesach. Rav Ovadia writes in the Tshuva, "Vein mitzvahs ner Shabbos etzem hadlaka ela shayish talshulus she ner dolek b'Shabbos." You have a ner that was lit on Shabbos, so you did it, you arranged it, you turned on the light, so that would be okay. Then one might ask, is there a chilik between incandescent, where there's a filament, that might be called eish, versus LED lights or fluorescent lights? So there is also a machlokas whether those could be used themselves, because it might not be a din of eish. It might just be a difference of fluorescent, and that is what is it? I forgot to mention before. In the Or L'Tzion, we said you can't use a regular electric because the fuel's not there. But if you have a battery powered light, then you would be able to use it, because there the source of fuel is there. It's not just a current that's coming in from the outside. So it's there, so therefore a battery would be better. But we said, according to other poskim, make a din, you could do it, just don't make a bracha. And other poskim say, Rav Ovadia says you could even make a bracha on the electric candles. That's in terms of the what. So again, we have the clearest, the paraffin, the shemen zayis, and you have a summary there on page 90 of all the different fuels to use, the advantages, the disadvantages, and the psak halacha of whether it can be used or not. Good. So now we spoke about the why and the how many and the what, and now we got to talk about the where. The where. Where is the best place to light Shabbos candles? Right? Let's say somebody's eating over somewhere else on Friday night. Do you light at home? Do you light where you eat? So what's clear is that one needs to get hana from the candles. You need to get some kind of pleasure from the candles. The Aguda, one of the Rishonim, writes, Ubekayitz, in the summertime, where Shabbos is very late, Yachol lechol la'ar hayom, you can make early Shabbos and eat during the day. Shalom b'makam haner, the candle that you lit before, and it's not going to do anything. Right, because right now you want to eat outside. It's very nice outside. Ubekayitz yasunir as aruchim, what do you have to do? Make long candles, so that by the time you come back inside, it's still lit. Shal yechabu kodem alayla. V'im lo yasu kina ve'bracha levatala. The shraga matira mahanya. If you lit a candle and went right outside, and by the time you came back, it was empty, it was out, then obviously it was worthless, says the Aguda. You have to make sure that it is long enough to be able to give you hana when you get back. And the Shulchan Aruch quotes a similar idea. Hamadlikin bezavias habayis v'ochlam b'chatzer. If I light in the house in a corner and I'm eating in my chatzer, im ein haneros arukos shadokos adalayla. If the candles aren't so long that they last till I get home, havi bracha levatala, you have to get some type of hana. You have to get some type of hana from the candles, or else it is a problem. The Shulchan Aruch does say that one is allowed to make kiddush and eat in a different place from where the candles are. Right? He says, it's better if you have the candles there, but if you need to eat in a different place, you can. But again, the candles you have to get hana from, maybe beforehand, maybe afterwards. But one needs to get some type of hana. The Mishnah Brura sides with the poskim who say that one should only rely on this in cases of severe distress. Right? In some cases of shas atchak mamish. But in general, one should try to have the candles in a place where one eats and enjoy them during the time that one is eating. Piskei Teshuvos also quotes that another option, let's say I'm eating out somewhere, but I want to light at home. So I can, being Makabel Shabbos, right, when you light is also something that we'll talk about this next time. But the Piskei Teshuvos quotes, another option is that if you say, according to most poskim we mentioned, that electric candles are also Yotzei, the mitzvah with them, so before you go out, let's say you're worried that the candle's going to go out, but before you get home. So before you go out, turn the light on and off and on, and then light the candle. Have in mind that that's part of your lighting of the candles. And then when you light the candles, fine, even if it goes out, but part of your halakas Shabbos and the bracha went on the electric light, which is still going to be on when you come home from where you ate on Friday night. Good. Could a number of people light candles in the same place? Right, you might say, is that shalom bayis? There's already plenty of light here. There's enough light here. So can many people light in the same place? Let's say you go to a daughter goes to her parents for Shabbos. Could she light? So the Maharil says, Shnayim v'shlosha bali batim ochlam makam echad kolechem v'varach menorah shalo. Everyone can make a bracha on their own menorah. Aval b'sheish kfar or maruba, even though there's plenty of light. Avagav sha'ar zarua gim gim bazeh, says the Maharil, even though the Ar Zarua was not so sure about this. V'kol makam yish manhiginan hachi. This is what I think. Why? Why could you light three different families, three different women at the same place? The kol masha mitosif ora yesh be shalom bayis tvei. More light, there's more shalom bayis. Still, there's more candles. That leads to greater shalom bayis and greater oneh. The Shulchan Aruch quotes both opinions. It says, therefore, you should not make a bracha. Meaning, if you have 5 people lighting in a hotel, if you have right near each other, or if you have a number of kids that all went to the parents' house for Yantif, so the Shulchan Aruch says only the Ba'alas Habayis makes the bracha. They could all listen and say Amen and then light their own candles, but only the Ba'al Habayis makes the bracha. And the Ramah says no, we make the bracha ourselves. Look at the Shulchan Aruch in 47. Aruch Chaim Reis Alma Gimel. Shnayim o shlosha bali batim ochlim v'makam echad. If 2 or 3 families reading in one place, yesh omrim. Some say shekol echan mevarech al menorah shelo. Some say everybody should make a bracha on their own. V'ish megam geim mudavar, the Ar Zarua. Some say maybe not. V'nochon lizar b'safik brachas v'lo yivarech al echad. B'yizoyer, safik brachas. V'hagav aval anu eino agin kain. The Ramah says we don't hold of this. We don't say this. We say that everybody can make their own bracha, even if they're in the same place. Everybody can make their own bracha. The Mishnah Berurah says if it's possible to light, if every family has their own room, so then maybe, you can light in the room. It's better. If you have your own makam miyuchad. Says the Mishnah Berurah, cheder miyuchad though, if one of them has their own room, which most families do, even if you don't eat there, you're only sleeping there, you can make a bracha there. But that's not generally done. We don't light candles in anywhere except the kitchen or the dining room area, so that's generally not done, but it could help in the following case, as we will see what an option is in terms of hotels, and we'll get back to this case as well. So, what about hotels? So, hotels often they have you if they could have it set up in the dining hall. You have a place to light candles. So, according to the Shulchan Aruch, you can't make a bracha on those. It's a bunch of candles together. It's not being mosif anything, so you can't make a bracha on those, according to Sfardim. But according to Ashken, they should get together and listen to one woman make a bracha, say amen, and then light. But according to the Ramah would say they can't make a bracha. They can't make a bracha. The problem is that often the hotels set up these tables in the lobby, where it's not anywhere you can get hana from. Right? You light, and then everybody goes inside. No, they should have it set up in the dining room. But if they don't have it set up in the dining room, that's a big problem. Big problem. And that's why many poskim would say that's a bracha levatala. To light in a lobby where no one is, you're going to light in some corner and then leave? No, that's a problem. And he quotes this from Rav Mordechai Eliyahu and the Shmir Shabbos, Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu does say, if it's a place where cake and coffee are served, not just in a lobby mamish where nobody ever stays there, but it's where cake and coffee and you might have a piece of cake, so then maybe it's okay. Then maybe it would be okay in that regard. So again, the Mamar Mordechai also mentions this Right, this is the Ramon Chalio in the Chuvas. Pedera klal on halas based baloni and marshal ligniris b'chadorim. You can't light in the room. Umaksim, that's for security purposes. Umaksim makom lobby b'malon. B'ofan zeh afachas lo yichol levarech al neiros haShabbos. So Ramon Chalio, if you light in the lobby, no one can make the bracha. No one can make the bracha. Kivan sha neiros trichos lios b'makom suda o b'makom shenenim imenu. You have to get some hana from it. V'ma neiros eno b'makom suda o b'makom shenenim. If they're not there, ein yotzin yichos halakha. They're not yotzei. אבל המנהרס בחדר שאחר כך שעושים בו קופי ואוכלים עונה עוגה או בחדר האוכל, אזי אישה אשכנזייה can go and make the bracha there. Okay, there's also the Sefer Chut HaShani. Chut HaShani is from Nissen Karel. It says there's another option in situations that one wants to be yotzei even in a hotel situation. Says the Chut HaShani ve'efshar shem achrei shechozim lebeisam b'zuz lo Shabbos yitemu eitzid v'achila. Right, that's not the hotel case, but the case where again you have long candles, so you didn't get any hana from them yet. So when you come back late, eat something out of the candles, or as we said before, put a light on just in case they would go out. You can also do that in a hotel. When a woman's about to light candles in the hotel, what should she do? She should first turn off and on a light in the hotel room. So she has kavanah, that's part of my lighting. That light goes straight down and do the candle and make the bracha on the candles. That's what the Piskei Teshuvos quotes. V'im tidlach b'chadara et or ha'chashmal l'kavet Shabbos. Umiyalo, she turns it off and on. You can even use the bathroom light. Even the bathroom light of the hotel. Umiyalo lo hefsek telech ha'makom ha'miyuad la'laka. And then right after she goes straight and lights by wherever it is, wherever the hotel wants her to light. So then that would be okay as well, because the lighting, the mitzvah would include the lighting that she did in the room. One final point, and that is, so now we just said that sometimes, electric lights you can even light, but there's a problem. The Shmir Shabbos brings up. So nowadays we're going to light candles. But if the lights are on in the room, then what good are my candles doing? Is this really more adding shalom bayis? It's adding shalom bayis by light. My candles are doing nothing. Like we said before, shraga batira mayahani. Right? So what do you do? What do you do in this situation? Could you really make a bracha on lighting halakas neiros Shabbos anymore? So many poskim, Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe and Rav Yaakov and Rav Avadia all suggest, and they have it in 53 there in the radiance of Shabbos, they all say, you know what a woman should do right before she lights candles? She should turn the light off and then turn the light on and then go light the candles. So that the turning on the light is part of the lighting the candles. Right? If she didn't do that, then it's like she's lighting and there's no purpose. But if she turns the light off and turns the light then on, then that would work. And he quotes this, that this was the practice of Rav Moshe and Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky and others. Rav Moshe Sternbach, the Chuvas Hanagos, is not as concerned as the other poskim in this, and that's why the minhag of most women is not to turn the light off and on. The minhag of most women is just to do their thing. Right, the Rav Sternbach says, "V'ini anu lo noagin ladaktik bazeh lanicha dafka l'shulchan v'atam nira she'etzleinu ein hanaros laha'ir." Nowadays, the lights aren't only to give light. Shedai lazeh ba'elektri shebacheder. I have the electric light. Rak kavod Shabbos l'shanos ba'or Shabbos. What I might call the ambiance. There's an ambiance when there are candles lit, and even if you want to say that nowadays the candles don't add light, but they do add ambiance. You go into a fancy place, there are candles lit. Ra kavod Shabbos l'shanos bar Shabbos. L'chein af sha'or b'cheder madlikin neiros b'yuchan l'kavod Shabbos. V'yim kain hayom yikaram l'kavod lavav v'lo mish'angin mekach. V'chol it continues, but there is a heter. So again, if a woman wants to follow the practice of many poskim, Rav Yaakov and Rav Shlomo Zalman and Rav Moshe, to turn the light off and on and then go light, wonderful. And if not, if she doesn't do anything, Rav Sternbach says it is all okay. Also, Tshuvos v'hanagos. The Pnei Halacha also summarizes this and says, though it's preferable to turn off the electric lights before lighting, it is okay if one didn't do that. It is fine. And that's what he says. Ula min adin towards the end of 55. Gam b'shah she'turas hachashmal dolekes. After the halak neiros bracha, even if it's lit, because nowadays the shalom bayis element is not just about light, but it is about the issues of ambiance, and just like when you walk into a fancy restaurant, there's an ambiance because there are candles lit on the table, so too when it comes to halakas neiros Shabbos. Okay, this was halakas neiros part 1. We look forward to having part 2 next time we meet.